A two-step compound and polish on a Miata. Hi, I'm Ivan.
I'm Glenn, and I'm also Glenn.
And this is DIY Detail with special guests, Omni Garage. Today we're going to be polishing this Miata, and from there it looks nice and shiny and glossy. Up close, it looks like someone washed it with a Brillo pad. It's, there's lines, there's all sorts of weird geometric shapes here. It's obviously been washed with something abrasive in areas. It's not everywhere. So we're going to be spot compounding and then polishing to even everything out.
And Ivan's going to teach us some tips and tricks along the way.
Right. These gentlemen have never used a rotary before.
No, we have always been dual action, so we're going to pick the brains of Ivan as we go through this process and figure out what we need to know around making that transition to a rotary machine.
Okay, and in New Zealand, is it a hood or a bonnet?
It's a hood. It's a hood.
It's a hood?
I mean, it's probably a bonnet, but we call it a hood.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go to the hood, gentlemen.
Okay.
So, Glenn, on that side, you've got the corded rotary. We'll take the cord free over here because we don't have enough extension cords. But the first thing, we always want to start with a clean, damp pad. And the dampness is to help control heat, first and foremost. Secondly, it prevents the compound from absorbing too much into the pad so it can work more on the surface. And it makes cleaning the pad easier the next time. So to do so, we have a couple simple ways of doing it. Rinseless wash, diluted.
Yes.
How much?
256 to 1.
Correct.
No, I think it's a special dilution on the pad. 256 to 1.
Correct. Yeah.
Because here, there's only one dilution. 256 to 1.
We have two dilutions.
Oh.
4 milliliters to a liter.
So can you bust this myth for me then? Does the rotary create more heat than the dual action?
No.
Okay.
The user can create more heat with a dual action than they can with a rotary.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Myth busted number 1.
So the rotary actually runs cooler, generally speaking, than a dual action.
Okay.
Because you actually have less abrasive movement with a rotary than you do with a DA. That's why the DA cuts faster.
Okay.
But I'm going to show you to cut and finish with the rotary. And you're actually the first ones to try our new rotary cutting pad and our new compound.
Okay, I'm excited.
So first thing we want to do.
And what number speed are you doing that on?
So you always clean your pad at the same speed that you use the pad on the paint, which in this case is speed 1.
Okay.
But then we spin it out at speed 6. Next, the compound. So the gold standard compound doesn't come in a sprayer, unfortunately. And unlike a lot of compounds, you don't need to use a lot. So 3 small drops on your pad.
Pea-size drops.
Yeah, is all you need.
And you said we're going to use this at speed 1.
Speed 1.
Okay. So we're polishing.
We're compounding.
Compounding. Yes.
So first thing, a lot of people hold on to the tool too much.
Okay.
We don't want to put any pressure on the tool. The more pressure you exert, the more heat you generate.
Okay.
The more heat you generate, the less you cut.
Okay.
So you can see I've got a lot of pressure on the machine. Just a couple fingers. Now with a compound, you want to stay in a smaller focused area.
Okay. So we're working smaller areas versus DA.
Right.
This doesn't seem like a very small area though. It still seems like you're going to work.
Are you kind of going by like a 3x3 sort of section?
Yeah.
About 3 or 4 pad sizes.
Yeah.
Now, this cuts very aggressively.
Are you saying it cuts aggressively because of the pad or the pad compound or the combo with the machine?
The combination.
Okay.
And what happens is you can start to see it clearing up.
Okay.
When it starts clearing up, you're done.
Okay.
Don't try to stretch it out.
Okay.
And you'll see what we have on our pad here.
Yeah.
So that is a combination of a bit of the polish, but the clear coat we removed.
Okay.
A lot of people at this point would be just put more compound on.
And go again. Yeah.
And how many passes have you done there roughly to get a bit of clear up?
3.
3 passes.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's quite interesting there is that machine was going very slow.
Yeah.
If I was picking this rotary up and trying to learn myself, there's no way I would have started that slow. I don't know how many speeds are on that machine, but I probably would have ramped that up to speed 3, 3.5.
Yeah. And the compound would have cut for about 10 seconds.
Running too much heat.
Right.
Okay.
And now you've just removed that polish using a rinse and dampen towel.
Yeah. So how are those scratches now?
Okay, I mean it's made a good dent on them. We have quite a few in this linear section here and here, but it has definitely. I can see up here where you haven't hit versus here, like we've knocked them back.
Have any rotary swirls?
Well, that's the thing, because my conception of a rotary is I'm going to put haze in there, I'm going to put trail marks, and then I have to clean it up with a DA.
Right. Yeah. That comes down to the abrasive.
Okay.
So the pad combined with the abrasive.
Okay.
Your typical abrasive is shaped like a pyramid, and a pyramid has a number of points. And as that abrasive is going around, you have a point of the pyramid digging in. It eventually breaks off. The pyramid rolls a little bit, goes to the next point, keeps doing that. With the geodesic shape of our abrasive, we have a lot of cutting edges. And the compound or the abrasive is actually designed to roll in the compound a little bit.
Okay, you described it more like lots of little triangles in a ball.
Yeah, a triangle forming sphere.
Okay,
So if you know what a geodesic dome is, you can Google it.
And
It's
it just
easy.
has heaps more cutting sides and just keeps cutting and cutting and cutting on basically a fresh edge.
Right. Yeah. So that's why we have a very short cycle with this.
Okay.
Because it is cutting a lot.
Okay.
At the same time. Now, this vehicle, we're actually not wanting to cut a lot on. This is very important. We measured the paint before, and it has an average of about 95 microns everywhere.
That's where someone would typically be scared away from a rotary, though, who doesn't know. They're
Right.
I can definitely not touch this with a rotary. I'm going to remove too much paint.
Well, actually, a DA removes more than a rotary.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that being said, we don't want to compound a lot on this. I'll teach you more the art of finishing with a rotary. And the customer, when they see their car, they see it as perfect already.
Yeah.
We see scratches that they don't see, that to them don't exist. So we don't need to chase all these scratches.
No, because they're going to see a burn spot in their paint
Yes.
much quicker than a couple of scratches that are left behind.
Right. Now, for cleaning the pad,
Yes.
rinse and wash, couple sprays.
Okay, so you do a speed one and then you ramp up again, just like the initial one that you did.
Right. And now our pad is clean again.
Okay. And you're not introducing any more liquid at this point? That's enough liquid right there?
That's enough liquid.
Okay.
And if you take your glove off or run it against your arm, you'll see it's
it's very
just damp.
Yeah.
There's less than 1 milliliter of water that remains in the pad.
After doing that process.
Right.
Okay.
So why don't you believe in blowing out the pads like we see quite a lot?
First of all, I don't like breathing dust. Secondly, it's a very efficient way of destroying pads.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to sell you more pads, they're definitely going to tell you to use compressed air.
Yep.
You start to damage the cell structure inside the pad.
Right. Now, a wool pad is a little different, but this pad has a wool face, but a foam interface. Okay. And the foam interface is to allow it to contour to the panel.
Foam you're going to damage, isn't it, really, with the with the compressed air.
So up here, you can see we have a lot of the deeper scratches.
Yeah.
And what have you put on that pad now?
The compound again.
Okay.
So you're going to learn how to compound with a rotor.
Trusted with a.
So speed one.
Speed one. Okay.
Yeah.
Am I doing kind of my normal spread out of the compound?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Use your trigger lock always.
Okay. How much pressure am I applying here?
No pressure.
Using that hand to sort of guide the machine along, is that right?
And the speed that I'm moving here?
Good. With compounding, the slower you move, the faster you work.
Okay.
You have to remember, clear coat is a plastic. So if you create heat, you're going to soften the plastic. If you soften the plastic, your abrasive isn't cutting it anymore.
Right.
It's just sort of rolling around in the plastic.
So that's not hot at all.
No.
That's my 3 passes.
So we're at 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Here, we'll put it in Celsius for you guys. 19.5 degrees Celsius there. Where you're cutting, 21.
Okay, so we've barely introduced any heat. I probably wasn't as efficient as possible through this little divot. I felt like the machine wanted to walk away a little bit when I got to that area.
Right. One of the reasons for that is you're holding onto the machine too much.
Okay, I really felt like I was just using this as a supporting hand, but obviously when I get
But
here,
your backhand
okay.
was
So position of backhand. Should I move it here? Should I have it just?
wherever's comfortable.
Okay.
But one way to learn how to use the rotary
Yep.
is to hold it less.
Okay.
And when we do that, put 2 fingers here,
Yep.
2 fingers there.
Okay.
Now it's starting to get grabby.
Yep.
Because the abrasive is spent and we've actually loaded the pad with clear coat.
Well, yeah, that would have been pass number 4 right there.
Yeah, right.
Hence where the three passes was
Yeah.
probably sufficient.
And these curves, they don't look like much, but they're actually very...
Yeah, well, you can feel it in there, definitely.
Yeah.
And so how do you navigate that? Do you put a little bit of a lean on the pad?
Yeah,
Or?
you can put a bit of a lean. Every time you're putting a lean, you're actually reducing the amount of cut because you have less surface working for you.
Okay.
If the whole pad isn't contacting, but at the same time, there are areas where, yes, you need to sort of lean into it, but not the airplane taking off sort of lean, just a very little.
And that stops that digging and that
Right.
pivoting of it, right? So you're doing more work with this side of the machine.
Right.
But
But you see with this pass,
Yeah, well, it's cleaned that
It's
right
cleaned
up.
it
right,
up.
that means
It's spent. It's
Yeah.
finished. It's
Okay.
gone.
So one quick question then. So another myth that I have in my head is I'm going to remove. So number 1, I thought, okay, I'm going to put more heat in the paint. Number 2, I think I'm going to remove more paint using rotary.
no.
How much paint are we actually removing? So we did the measurement here, right? And we were 110, 120 microns in some areas. How
Yeah.
much are we removing when we're doing?
So this little area that I did here, now we're down to 84,
Okay.
104. This paint is very variable, but 91,
So we probably removed about 5, maybe a little bit more than 5.
5 to 10 microns.
Okay. In our 3 passes.
Yeah.
So that's where using a dual action and having to do 6, 7, 8 passes to try and achieve the same result is very counterintuitive to
Right.
potentially causing damage.
But with this compound
Mhm.
and our wool pad that's designed for the DA, because
Yes.
we have a different pad altogether for the DA,
Yes.
you're going to actually remove more material than with the rotary.
Okay. That's a big myth that I had in my head is I'm going to create more heat and remove more paint.
Right.
using rotary.
You're creating less heat and removing less paint.
Less paint.
But the DA properly used is not going to create any more heat,
Okay.
or very, very little.
Okay.
And you're allowed up to 30 degrees Fahrenheit, so about 15 degrees or 18 degrees Celsius of range.
Okay.
So beyond that, you're actually damaging the paint.
Okay.
So if you want, we can take a small section with the dual action,
Dual action. Okay.
with the compound, just so you see what it can do.
So that's a different pad. I see that the fibers are a lot shorter.
Correct, because the long fibers on this pad, if you're in a dual action, they're just going to vibrate. They're
Okay.
not going to cut. So you need a short nap wool.
I think you should have a go with this, Glenn.
Yeah,
I know I've used rotary, but have a turn. Are you comfortable cutting it?
2 to 3.
2 to 3. Okay. So again, slower than what I would typically have gone for.
Right, because above 3, you're creating too much heat.
Okay.
Is that the same for every polishing machine, or is that specific to this one?
Same for every machine.
Okay. All right. Which area are we going here? Should we go?
Maybe do in here.
To the middle.
Yeah.
Okay. And sorry, you said speed.
Speed 3,
3.
2 to 3. Put it on the surface first before starting it, or else we'll all be wearing
We
compound.
don't want to do that.
So you notice it's already clearing up.
We're past number 2.
Yeah, because you're cutting a lot more. So look at all what's on your pad.
Yeah, look at that. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I thought I was cutting far less using a dual action.
you're cutting far more.
Very
So
interesting.
there's a couple things going on. First of all, when you're looking at a rotary, So if we look at this pad, this, as it's going around, is going around very quickly.
Yes.
This is going around very slowly. So the pad isn't being used everywhere the same.
No.
With a dual action, the oscillation, which is 25 millimeters with this machine, is 25 millimeters everywhere. So each one of these fibers is like a 25 millimeter rotary.
Well, they're all moving at the same speed.
Right.
On here, they're not. It's variable.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that 25 millimeter stroke, actually the abrasive movement. So if we were to take the very outside edge of this pad and measure the speed of the movement at 800 RPM, is actually less than what this pad is doing at 3,000 orbits per minute. And at speed 2, you're maybe at 3,500 orbits per minute.
So on the rotary, are we cutting mainly with our outside?
Yes.
The outside portion of the pad is
Right.
doing all the work for us.
It's doing, the rest is doing some of the work.
Yeah.
If you want to create swirls with a rotary,
Yeah.
you put it up on edge. You're going to get swirls.
Okay.
If you want to have very little to correct afterwards, that's when you keep the pad flat.
Okay. So the biggest mistake that you see people doing with a rotary is what? Too much speed?
Two things.
Speed? Yep.
Speed.
Okay.
So high speed. So high speed, up on an angle.
Okay. You're going to cause significant damage.
Yeah, look at those swirls already.
Yeah, I can see it. Look at it. Okay. This is telltale for me of rotary.
That's what people think of
Yes.
when they think of a
Just
rotary.
Poor technique with rotary.
Right.
Not rotary.
It's not necessarily poor technique. It's what everyone has been taught for the last 40 years.
Okay.
Technology and pads and compounds have changed dramatically.
Okay.
So for myself, I cut with the DA
Yep.
and I finish with the rotary.
Okay.
And that would be your ultimate choice there?
Yes.
Just because that's going to cut better, and then the rotary is just for nice glide. to
The
finish
rotary
down.
gives you the better finish of the two.
Right, okay.
So shall we move to finishing,
Let's
John?
do that. Yeah.
We should
Yeah.
move to finishing.
Okay.
Hang that back up. We don't
Yep.
need that.
That's what I would
That's
typically
what
see.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would go, that's rotary, you're going to have to now go and polish that out, right?
Yeah.
But if we went home with a rotary with none of this knowledge, we would turn a whole car like that because we would be polishing on speed 4, moving fast, probably putting a bit too much pressure.
Yeah.
It probably the main mistake we would make is way too much speed. There's no way we would operate that at speed 1.
Right. The other thing is when you're cutting with the dual action machine,
Mhm.
the only thing we need to remove now is a bit of micro marring
Yes.
from the pad. Whereas cutting with the rotary, some of these swirls could be deep. We'll need to do more passes. So it takes even more time.
Okay.
You're turning a 2-step into a 3-step.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas if you cut with the DA, the worst you have to deal with is a bit of micro marring afterwards.
Well, yeah, bit of haze maybe.
Yeah, a bit of haze, that's it. And we don't have to wipe the compound off between steps.
Okay.
It's not necessary.
And how long could we go and do the whole car and leave this polish on here and then come back and
Yep.
then wipe it free?
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay. All right.
And wiping the compound, if you want to remove it, is always 2 steps with us. So rinseless dampened towel, and I'm not trying to get everything off. I'm just trying to emulsify it.
Yeah.
Let the rinseless do the work for you.
Rinseless does a great job at removing polish.
Yeah.
And this is a tip that we've picked up from watching you guys, is that we have now introduced this into our process, is the rinseless towel to remove the polish.
Yeah.
It does a fantastic job.
The thing that's great about the rinseless towel is if you get polish and crevices, you can manipulate that towel and actually remove that right now
Right.
rather than getting it later,
Yeah.
which
And,
you never get to later.
no, and if you get polish in the crevice, it's because you're doing something wrong. You have way too much polish or compound on your pad.
Yeah. Yeah, look at those marks you made.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very easy to swirl up a car with a rotary if you want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's no need to. Next, finishing with a rotary.
Okay.
Again, always a clean, damp pad.
Speed 1, speed 6, back to speed 1.
And I see you've changed your pad now.
Yeah, this is our finishing pad,
Okay.
jeweling pad, and 1 spray of polish is all you need.
Okay.
2 sprays is 1 too many.
Okay.
And you notice we have distribution all over the pad.
That's because you were. Was it slightly spinning?
It was spinning,
Yeah.
and I wasn't aiming at the center of the pad, I was actually aiming here,
Okay.
very close. But now, instead of having 3 drops on the pad, or 4 drops or 5 drops, I have the whole pad covered
Yep.
with thousands of little drops.
Okay.
So I'm not starting an area of polishing without polish on the pad.
Okay.
So just like we did before, and you'll notice the user experience with this pad is a lot better.
Okay. And we're still on speed 1 here. So
Still on speed 1.
how many passes will you go to finish with this right now? You got 3 again?
If I'm following after a DA,
Yeah.
all I really need is 2 passes.
Okay. If you're following after a rotary?
You'll need 3.
Okay.
And you'll notice I'm doing a larger section size, because the polish can be spread further.
It's very surprising that we're getting so much coverage there with the polish with one spray.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd be a lot more economical.
It looks like the work time is going to be quite high as well. Is that right?
Pardon me?
Your work time.
Yeah. If I wanted to do 10 passes, I could without getting any dusting.
And no dusting, yeah. Like, you use some other compounds and polishing and stuff, and it's like dust storm.
And how much paint do you think you'd be removing going through this part of the process versus your cutting?
We might be removing 1/10 of a micron.
Okay, so very, very minimal.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a jeweling step.
Yeah.
Reveal the...
The finish. Pretty fantastic finish. Just the gloss factor there alone, I can see pretty clearly. Yeah, it's made a significant difference. And I mean, you're right, like some of these scratches are deeper, but we've been very intentional with what we're doing here
Yes.
to not cause any damage to the paint. And you step back to here, everything disappears anyway.
Right.
I have to really be looking here. And even the big linear scratches that we had in here, they have definitely been knocked down to a point where they're far less visible.
Correct.
Impressive.
Your turn. And your turn. So let's get your rotary set up. Glenn knows what to do, so we'll get Glenn set up. So Glenn,
Will I put so much polish on me?
yeah, that's fine, but you need to treat the trigger like it owes you money.
Okay.
You're squeezing its neck for all it's worth.
Okay. Okay. Take it easy.
No, squeeze like,
Squeeze.
yeah, like it owes you money. You're angry with it.
Okay.
So same with you. This trigger is angry. You're angry at this trigger.
Gotcha.
And you have to hold it. You don't want to spray, yeah. We'll give it another shot. So turn it on. Hold it on. That's fine. Cord over the shoulder, or else the internet will burn down. Speed 1. So the goal is to keep the pad as flat as possible and move slower.
And Ivan, so when I get to this stage here in that dip, the best way to deal with that is to push back the pressure that way on the machine and let the back of the machine kind of walk up it?
Yeah, just a little bit. So for both of you, stop for a second. We're going to correct your posture.
Yeah, I feel this all back.
You don't need to smell the polish. So stand up straight.
Okay. I was feeling this all back there too. Look,
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, so you don't need to be leaning into it.
Okay.
Stand up, keep your shoulders square.
Okay.
You know, this is a low vehicle, so it's a bit of a pain.
Yeah. Okay.
But on a normal height vehicle,
Try and keep the back.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I get quite low like that to make sure my pad's level.
yeah,
You can feel when it's level though, or when it's not level.
correct. Because it will pull one way or another.
And you'll be able to see it in the trails as well.
Yeah,
I do feel like this is sort of walking all over the place.
you're holding on too tightly. So the less you hold on to it,
Right.
the easier it is to maneuver.
Okay.
The less you try to move the machine, the easier it's going to be to move.
I got way too far over there.
So how are those deep scratches now? After just a jeweling pass? Still there?
It's still here. You
Yeah.
pop them down a little bit.
Right. So now that you know where those scratches are exactly,
Yes.
take your DA, clean it, put compound on it, and just do those scratches. A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
So now you're simply targeting the area where these deeper scratches are at,
It's kind of like
right here.
here to here.
Yeah,
This
so
section.
actually here.
All right. And should we do what? 3 passes in there, you think? Back and forth?
Yeah,
Speed.
2 or 3 on the DA. Yeah. Now don't wipe that off. Clean your pad, polish over. You want the pad damp when you start, so clean it when you're starting.
I think I've got the technique of it. Look at that.
Much better, yes.
Much better.
You're getting angry enough. Okay.
All right. And like a couple of passes here?
Yeah,
2?
speed 1.
One more pass. You'll keep it there.
It's up to you.
I'll go one.
That's why it takes you 4 hours to
I
polish
know.
a car.
Always one more pass.
When you guys are polishing, do you always do a ceramic coating afterwards?
Yes.
Oh, okay. If you're not doing a ceramic coating, someone wants a quick one step, so an all-in-one. We don't have an all-in-one product. Our all-in-one product is go over it with the gold standard polish, rinse the stamp and towel. While it's still damp, a mist of envy,
Okay.
and then you dry it off
And we're basically corrected and then protected.
in one pass. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is like wash, clay, seal, plus polish.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Almost slipped over. Okay.
So, gentlemen, is finishing with the rotary difficult?
No,
How many swirl marks have you induced into this hood?
none.
No, none other than the demonstration you showed us, which again, it was very easy to remove them. I could totally see how someone who didn't know what they were doing could go around and do that on a whole car though.
Oh, easily.
I
yeah.
would have done that, and I would have thought that was normal
Right.
to do that. And then I would have gone, okay, now I've got to then remove these. But
Yeah.
absolutely not the case.
As detailers, our goal is to enhance the paint to make it better, not damage it.
Correct.
So we're not damaging, and the correction process or the refining process is easier if you don't have those swirls to go after.
Yeah. And I mean, the finished result of this, I thought we would have to be doing this combo, rotary, dual action. You almost reversed my mind on it a little bit though, because you're going, if you really want a heavy cut, you could go dual action and then finish down with your
Right.
rotary. Whereas my mindset was I have to cut with rotary and then I have to finish with the dual action.
Right, which is the traditional way of looking at it.
Yep.
But the technology in pads, the technology in abrasives have changed dramatically, first of all. Secondly, you guys are using a 15 millimeter DA.
Yes.
It's not cutting more than a rotary, I'm sorry. The rotary, in your case, cuts more. But when you get up to 21 or 25 millimeters, now you have a DA that cuts far faster than a rotary. At 15, they're neck and neck. When you get to 21, a little better. When you get to 25, it's even better.
Gotcha.
So combination, kind of what I've learned today is you need to low speed
Yeah,
equals low heat. Very little amount of the DIY product as well.
yes,
You know, less is more in that case. And then it's a matter of just really feathering the machine. So really not gripping onto it,
no,
just letting the machine do its work.
yeah,
Those contours where I thought rotary would be really difficult is just pivoting the pad a little bit to allow it to just glide over it from the
yeah,
back. And you can cut and you can finish.
right,
And get a good result quickly
yeah,
with rotary.
exactly. And the less you hold on to the machine, the easier it
Yeah.
is to control.
I noticed when I was grabbing onto it, it wanted to walk all over the place.
Right,
So less grip means you're not so tense throughout the whole
Yeah.
detailing process, a bit more enjoyable.
makes your
absolutely.
life easier, gives you a better finish, a better result. And the rotary will always finish better than a dual action machine with the right pad. Again, pad technology
Yes.
is very important. A flat pad, you are going to get swirls. It's not going to finish down easily. On a perfectly flat panel, a flat pad, you might be able to get it. But the waffle pad makes a big difference, the thickness of the pad as well. So our pad is over 30 millimeters thick. Your average DA pad is 18 to 19 millimeters thick. So we've almost doubled the thickness of the pad because we want that nice, thick softness to it, that it glides easily over any contour. You could have, I don't know if any of you, both of you did, but you can actually go over this with the pad
I avoided
and
that
ignore
to
it.
make
Yeah,
sure I didn't incur any damage or anything there.
Right.
But I guess you're right. With the thickness of the pad, you're probably going to be a bit
And
safer.
why is it a waffle weave? Why have you gone for that?
air movement,
Mhm.
better contact than a flat pad. This hood is not flat. If you had a flat pad, you would have to contour the pad to get into all
Right,
these areas. Whereas now you're just gliding over
So
it.
we've
Yeah.
basically increased our surface area of
Correct.
pad contact
Yeah.
to the paint.
Well, more efficient, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the whole idea
Yeah, right.
around wanting to learn the rotary.
Now, the other thing, very important, is 6-inch backing plate, not a 5-inch. A 5-inch doesn't cut more. There's this myth that a 5-inch cuts more than a 6-inch. That's impossible.
Well, how you've got more surface area.
Yeah, you have more surface area with a 6-inch. Some people, oh, well, you can concentrate more. No, the cutting action is the same for the movement of the tool.
Well, that's it. As long as the outside of the tool is moving at the same
Yeah.
speed with a 5 or a 6, you're always going to cut more with a 6.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the rotation on a dual action machine, a lot of people freak out because it stops rotating and just oscillates. The oscillation is doing between 85 and 95% of the work.
I always think the pad's not moving. I've got to alter it so that I get the pad moving again because I'm not doing any work.
Right. Or the oscillation is what's doing the work. The rotation is to give you, we call it a dual action machine.
Yeah.
In reality, a free spinning machine shouldn't be called a dual action. It should be called a random orbital
Okay.
because it's orbiting and it's random. Because of that, the rotation never keeps a constant speed
Constant state, yeah.
because it's all based on centrifugal force.
Okay.
Whereas that oscillation is always constant. A true dual action is the gear-driven machines that the action, it's doing two things at once, and they're both
Always
gear
the
driven,
same,
always the
simultaneously.
same. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
The industry, the naming, I don't know where we went sideways on this, but it is called, what we're using as a free spinning machine is technically a random orbital,
Okay.
because it's an orbital that has a random, the stroke is the same, but a random movement when it comes to the rotation.
Well, you busted another myth there, because my thought was if the machine is not doing that rotation as well,
Yes.
it's not doing anything. And where that really gets me is if I've only got a 5-inch machine, right? If I didn't have a 3-inch,
Yeah.
or if I need a 6-inch, and I got to areas where I could not get that pad into a state where it can rotate, thinking I cannot do anything with that
Yeah.
area. But completely
And then
wrong.
I've got to go to a 3-inch, or I've got to go to a nano, and I've got to go down in size so they
Right.
can pad motion.
I don't own a 3-inch machine. There's no area on this car that I can't get to with a 6-inch machine.
Okay. I feel like now we know that hack though, that it's still doing something when it's not spinning.
Yes.
We probably don't need one either.
Yeah.
Another efficiency.
Yeah, you know, like some people, they would take a nano to this because, oh, the pad's hanging over.
Yes.
Right. Our system is designed that we actually want to polish the trim. So we're actually forcefully polishing the trim. We want to polish it. Because by polishing the trim, we're cleaning it up, we're removing oxidation. And of course, I can get right up to this edge without a problem, not touching the top. So always use your trigger lock.
And by using the trigger lock, that means that you can concentrate your hands on balancing the machine and not gripping on too hard.
Right.
As soon as you're holding a trigger, you're
Yeah.
no doubt kind of
Well,
gripping onto it.
when you hold the trigger, there's two things happening. You're locking your wrist,
Yep.
and you're immobilizing your elbow at the same time. So you no longer have a range of movement.
Yeah.
Whereas I hold it with 3 fingers normally. 1 here, 2 here.
Yeah.
That gives me like a tripod effect.
Yeah.
I can easily move it around wherever I need to go.
Perfect. Well, I think, Ivan, you have busted quite a few myths around Rotary for us today. I think we're going to go home from here and we're going to try and incorporate a Rotary into our process.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing some tips with us.
Thank
Really
you, John.
appreciate it, and hopefully you guys at home have learned something as well. So if you're scared of a Rotary, don't be. Watch this video again. Go and pick one up.
We're definitely going to be watching it again because we're going to go, oh, what was that information around that? Oh, okay, and we need this and we need this. So this is going to be a little of a back catalog video for us as well.
Excellent. Now, there's one thing that these boys didn't mention. Subscribe to their channel. And there's a new thing, the hype points. So give them some hype points. It's easy to do if you're on a mobile device. If you're on a laptop or you're on a desktop, unfortunately, it can't do that. But on a mobile device, when you hit the like, which you should be doing or you should have done already, it will automatically say, do you want to hype this video?
Okay. I've learned something new again.
There you go.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Ivan.
Thank you,
And,
gentlemen.
we'll see you guys on the next one.
Catch you later.